Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm your lovely host, Eric Jacobs. You may have seen me before. Joining me today are Luke Derry and Derek Reese. We are going to talk about Blender and remote rendering and attempt to hack our way through making it work on OpenShift. Luke is getting his virtual background ready. Oh, that's cool. Did you render that background with Blender?
No, although I do have a render. I can use that.
Okay.
That's the hat rack.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Luke, talk to me about remote rendering in Blender in general at a high level. What is it? Why would you do it?
Blender has a command line interface, and it also has Python that you can use for what we would call remote rendering. Okay. Otherwise you're rendering in the actual app itself. The CLI allows you to render in the background, so it's you can see the -B flag there says run in the background. Don't load up the whole interface. In addition to the CLI, you can also do Blender straight from a Python file. I don't know that we'll try to do that today because I think there's a lot more involved with installing it. You have to build Blender as a Python script, but Blender itself comes built in with a Python instance that has like all the objects that you need. So you can typically you can run a Python script from the Blender CLI. So I think that's what we'll probably try to do today. I think there's definitely complexity. You can go out the window and just do all sorts of crazy things, but I think for the purposes of today, we'll focus on trying to execute a Blender CLI background command that also executes a Python script to do something fun.
Well, it's an open source project, right? So the kind of limits of what you can do is like, how much code do you want to write?
Yeah, and honestly, like because it has Python hooks, it allows you, people write plugins to do all sorts of crazy things, and any of that would be accessible via the Python hooks that it provides.
Okay, I was
gonna say one of the things, as we're doing this, I do want to do like one of the new, the current version, which is 2.92, because I think there's a lot of things that you can do in that, especially with the geometry notes that might be handy for little experiments we can do today.
Sure. What's the? Nope, not volume. There's a way to do variables in container file. Thought it was just variable, but env, I think maybe.
Oh, like it's environment variable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is lots of the wrong thing.
And then so like as far as setup goes, if you want, the easiest way to do this is to make a path, like put the Blender folder into your path.
Yep.
So that then really all you're doing is you're running Blender, not you don't have to run all the path to it.
Yeah. -v pwd :opt. Let's see what happens. Okay, cool. That is exactly what I wanted to happen here. It's actually not what I wanted to happen. That's what I wanted to happen. Okay, cool. So let's see, echo path. So what we're doing right now is we're going to try and build Blender into a container. I guarantee you there's already a container, but why not struggle?
Well,
for the
yeah, and
purposes of,
so I've definitely I started scripting out that I'm a front end guy by trade, so container stuff is always foreign to me. But yeah, essentially, just everything is in that tar file.
Mhm.
So you just extract it, and wherever you extract it, put the path to that.
I'm following lots of horrible practices here.
Flying by the seat of our pants.
Actually, you know what? No, that's not what I want to do. Tar xvf/temp blender dash version dash Linux 64 tar xc. Move Blender version Linux 64 Blender. All right, this is probably going to fail spectacularly, but we'll give it a try anyway.
I feel like the hallmark of using Linux enough to feel comfortable is being able to remember tar variables
Oh,
passing.
God, yeah, right. Do I need a J? Do I not need a J?
I know someone who was unfortunate enough to think that they knew him and put them in the wrong order and ended up doing some really horrible things.
Oh no, was that you?
It was not me. Like I don't risk it. I always go Google it. Like, once that happened, I was like, oh, I guess the order matters, or the capitalization, or whatever it might have been.
One of the things that just came out recently
Error.
from
Unknown
Blender
instruction.
Foundation.
Author? Really? That's pretty.
Yeah, God, Eric, don't give yourself credit.
I'm not. So it's funny. It's like if I do maintainer, then it bitches that maintainer's not used and that I should set the author field. Oh, this is label. Got it. Okay. Aha.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I was saying one of the things that came out of the Blender Foundation very recently is apparently the Irish studio behind Wolfwalker's beautiful animated feature film used Blender for all of its 3D vision scenes and then for a lot of its 2D animation.
Blender really has been, I won't date myself too much, but in college, Blender was something that everyone, it was like, oh yeah, and they would try it, and it was like it would weed out all the people that weren't really diehard 3D modelers and things, because it's like, they get into it, and the first thing they do is they try to left click on things, and it's like, I can't even click on things, and they would just kill it. But the recent UI updates, and they've just done a lot of quality of life things that have made it more accessible. And I think that in and of itself, like people in the industry have taken a serious look, in 3D plus VFX plus, anywhere that can use it. And the thing about Blender is it has so many uses. I would call it a Swiss Army knife of media in general, because it really, I use it for 3D modeling. I've done VFX with it. I just do little pet projects, and it's like even just basic graphical things, where a 2D artist would be like, all right, I'm going to load up, Photoshop or something. I'm like, yeah, I'll just create 3D models, and that way I can do any angle, and we've done it. But the latest and greatest things, like Netflix had what was the, oh man, I can't think of what the name of the series or the movie was. Let me go
Give me a topic.
It's like a computer animated robot. I can't think of what.
Big Buck Bunny? No, I'm just kidding.
You're talking about like Death, Love, and Robots, I think.
No,
that
not that one. It was a kid's Next Gen. Maybe?
Very different.
Yeah. No, Next Gen. Blender was a primary piece of what created that, and I think for a lot of people, with kids especially, when you point to that and you say, yeah, that was done in this cool thing. I think one of the series on Amazon that I really liked, Man in the High Castle. High Castle. That a lot of the cinematic shots in that were done with Blender.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gaining, and a lot of media houses are investing and putting things into the foundation and sponsoring work on Blender, and I think generally it's gotten more popular within the mainstream industries that it touches, and it's great to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think part of it too is you're kind of seeing a different generation of artists that are more technically capable and kind of willing to deal with the brick wall of learning a complex tool. I remember, so I've been using Blender almost 20 years now, that's a crazy thing to say, and I hate saying it.
Because you're plus 20. Is that why?
And about 16, 15 years ago, somewhere in there, I taught half a semester, basically about a 5-month-long class for high school with Blender. And it was an adventure, kind of, and a lot of it was working around the UI and kind of trying to craft an entertaining and engaging class where the results were much more immediate to keep the kids interested, because there was so much GUI to kind of learn in that brick wall. But I used to do all these demos to classes and to colleges and professionals, and I would blow them away with how quickly I could model and animate and texture and everything. They're like, "Oh my God, you're so fast." But I don't like that GUI. I don't recognize it. I don't understand it, and I don't want to learn how to use it.
Yeah, and I think that's where because I did this. I taught. Well, it's been 5 years, I guess now. 5 years ago, I taught like a middle school, high school, and the idea was it was multimedia, but the idea was to just use Blender for everything. And the first class, it's like, all right, go in, change your settings so that the left click is select. That was like, if you want to do this and not bash your head against the desk, change it to left click so you have that knowledge transfer. And that's, I think, generally speaking, getting into 3D modeling and CAD generally there's a big first initial step of there's no knowledge transfer because you're working in 3D space. You have the mentality is different than I'm going from documents where I'm typing and it's all 2-dimensional. You have to have other controls to move in 3 dimensions. So nothing is going to be all of the interface is going to be more complex. And I always tell people, like, Blender will be the hardest program you probably ever have to learn. If it's a layperson who's not doing this stuff, I say Blender is probably one of the hardest programs you'll ever learn, because you don't have the knowledge transfer all the time. Although they, like I said, in the latest versions they have, even something as trivial in your head as Control-C to copy. That was not the case, 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole thing around Blender's UI was designed from the ground up to be the quickest way for a highly experienced professional to work in 3D. And it really was, like, from the shortcuts and everything, but that also means every convention you would be used to in other software, if you used it before, is completely dropped out the window. and it produced some really impressive results. Like I said, nobody using Maya, 3ds Max, or even ZBrush or any of the other competing software could ever keep up with anybody who's very experienced with Blender. If you're an experienced person with Blender, I mean, you're literally 3 times as fast.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of interesting because even with the GUI improvements nowadays, when I show people that, when I show some of the younger people that are getting into 3D modeling and animation and film production, the speed compared to using Maya or 3ds Max, and I used to be pretty decent at Maya. They're convinced, like they don't even care how hard the software is. The younger people are just like, okay, it's a technical hurdle, I don't care, my life is full of them.
yeah. It's like, it's all right. And then you have things like the Eevee renderer now gives. I mean, I think that's probably, when I think back about over the years of using Blender, like I think for people, accessibility to people, like you said, people want the immediate. I want to be able to see what I did immediately, and Eevee gives you kind of that happy middle ground between what used to be the Blender renderer and Cycles, where you get that real time. There's a few things missing between Eevee and physically based rendering being what it is. Eevee does what it can. I think it's definitely a really great way to preview immediately, like changes that you're making. Even if I think the big thing for me is always the lighting, and there's ways to kind of hack around it, but.
Well, yeah, and lighting and look dev in itself is like one of those things that not a lot of people are aware of, is like that's a huge profession. You can literally build your entire career around just lighting and look dev.
Yeah.
And one of the people I went to school with, Scott Knapp, he's been all over LinkedIn recently because his portfolio is absolutely insane. And a lot of it is real-time lighting is the stuff he's been getting into, even though he's a guy that, just does film. Like that's his thing. He just does film. He's worked on, Marvel movies and things like that. But all of his stuff recently is just, it's real time, from Unreal to Blender to, Unity and that sort of stuff. And it's really cool to see that kind of taking hold in the industry.
So
you would think that I'd built a container once in my life before. I don't understand what I'm fighting with here.
Is it
it's like variable expansion combined with annoying like container file syntax.
So
stuff
if you do, I had to look this up. If you do, it's XJ, capital J.
No. It literally has nothing to do with the path that you're going down right now. This is,
really?
Yeah, it's quite literally like I cannot figure out the syntax of how to have a variable in the run command, even though I'm doing the exact same thing as a different one that has variables in the run command. Like I at this point, I don't even understand what I'm doing wrong. Like,
does it have to be?
So if I put everything in quotes, the variable expansion works, but then it tries to treat it as like a single command, which doesn't work. And then if I don't put it in there, that it doesn't work. User bin tar. All right, let's try user bin tar.
Because it's not replacing it.
Yeah, and so then if I put it all in quotes, sorry, wrong, too many terminals. Then it's trying to put that into SH and it's saying no shit's file or directory, but it's definitely there. So I just don't, I'm so confused as to why this doesn't work.
Let me look, because I had a container file that I was working on to do this.
So if anybody's actually watching the stream and can tell me what the hell I'm doing wrong, because this doesn't make any sense. Arc and env, build time variables, arc can be inspected after, env is available during the build, it's fine. Setting values, but I want to use the value.
Do you just have to put just the Blender, like the file in quotes?
Separate from, looks like XZ isn't installed. I'm using, so for the person who said it looks like XZ isn't installed, I'm using the same exact command on the same exact image, and it seems to work. CD temp Blender. What? What? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, file storage issues for some reason.
No, it's something may have changed in the file system. So let me try this again. There we go. So tar, XVF, Blender. Oh, look at that. XZ is not installed. Ah, lovely. Separate from tar. So what the heck provides XZ?
Well, so let's see.
Oh, is the right tar not installed? Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that like yeah?
Lovely. I hadn't actually tried to run it, so I've been chasing my tail on stupidity for a few minutes.
I mean, my excuse is that it's too early in the morning. What's yours?
we don't get that. We don't get that.
It says XZ is installed. This is so weird. Oh no, it's not. Okay, yeah, got it. Okay. Hey, look at that, son of a biscuit. All right, so let's go back here. Okay, so it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be in quotes. It doesn't need to have the full path. It does need to actually be installed.
Right. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. At least somebody's paying attention. All right, let's try this again. This will be slow as nuts. Actually, I should separate the install from. Thanks, Daniel. Wow, look at that. All right. So now the next step is it will untar it. Hey, look at that.
Hey.
All right. Marginally successful here. And then I'm sure that my move command will fail or something like that. But at least the move command's in a separate layer. So if it does fail, I can try and tweak it. Can one of y'all, maybe Luke, grab a blend file or point me to a blend file that I should use for testing this?
Yes, I put one out on GitHub somewhere here. Maybe I did. All right. So if you go,
I mean, something's happening. That's good news.
Oh, yeah, it's working. Or it's more working than it was before.
And we like to call that progress.
Yeah.
Eric, I put the link to the repository in chat.
In the Zoom chat?
Zoom chat. Does that work?
No, I just need to find the Zoom chat. There we go. All right, so.
And there, it doesn't matter which one. If you do OpenShift visuals, that one has. That's the
this file?
My background. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Then you probably have to do raw or download, I guess. Raw won't work, I guess.
I'm doing. So that's fine. All right, so let's.
And just for people watching, so what I did with this blend file, so that, I mean, it has some asset, like it has this HDRI, this photo sphere I took at the office years ago in it. So there's a setting in Blender to bundle all the assets. Otherwise, you have to port all of the assets with the file. It just makes things a little bit more self-contained. Now it does drive up your. I will say it does drive up your file size if you start adding a bunch into the file itself.
No such file or directory. So this is now we're trying to get Blender to work. So.
So that you probably. So if you do.
Oh, it wouldn't be bin. Sorry, that's dumb. It's a library, not a binary.
So you may not need that in particular, because the catch
I just tried to run the help and it said it needed it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to need it.
Try -B-H just for the sake of argument. So B is in background, so it won't load. No, okay. All right.
Still wants it.
Silly. Yeah, I remember one of the earliest tasks I had to work with Maya on a film was handling directory portability with massive sets of files, because you couldn't embed the assets. There were just gigabytes and gigabytes of them, and at the end, almost terabytes.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as like thinking about Blender workflows on OpenShift, obviously you'd be able to theoretically at least have separation of that as long as between pods or whatever you're running, that they have access to it. It just the Blender wants everything to be relative to whatever path it's running from. So
yeah.
Roddy says the cycles render is headless, but the EV render isn't. But I don't know.
Yeah, so EV requires. So this one should be I mean, what I would say is just try, instead of trying to do the help, just try the render. So if you, I don't know if you want the.
Hang on.
I can send you the command line flags link.
Sure.
So it's, for those that are watching, it's docs.blender.org. Has all the latest and greatest documents.
Yeah, but what do you actually want me to run as the command?
Oh, sorry. So do Blender and then -B. So we want background. And then we'll do dash
file
-O, because we want to tell it where to render it. So in this case, just point, yep. And then give it a file name to just do like image.png. Okay, so that -O tells us where that render output's going to go. And then where are we? It's funny. Render is point the file, render output.
So we need a
know what render is.
blend file after -B.
And it's dash.
We need to point it at the blend file. So temp blender OpenShift visuals.blend.
Yeah.
And then it says we need
and then
a capital F for image format. We don't need that. No, -F. We don't care about the frames.
It should. I think it's.
This should be enough.
Well, I think it's dash. Yeah, I think you have to do dash lowercase f and just tell it like frame one, like 1, because essentially, when you render, it, Blender within the Blender file, it has frames, and so you want to tell it -F render frame 1.
Nope,
Oh, it's
still wants. Well, I hadn't installed libx11 in this one, so. But this is a better test, so we're trying to do exactly what we want to do. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to install it no matter what, because the cycles renderer like is both a client and a server, and so it talks to itself over SSH. I think it's kind of silly, but what I remember from 4 years ago is if you want to do headless Blender, you have to have a build of Blender that's headless. Like you have to build it yourself, which means you have to do with headless flag, and then you have to, unless you have OpenCL running on this system, you'd have to do like with cycles device OpenCL faults.
Yeah, so you always have to have Eevee won't work in headless mode essentially, because it's tying into GPU.
Oh my gosh,
relative things.
Lots of depths here. I used a very minimal.
Well, you didn't even do UBI minimal. I would have thought.
That's true. Yeah.
That's funny because I was starting to build an image to do this last night, and I with my other stuff I've been using minimal, but I guess it makes sense.
That would have been even worse.
Yeah, it would have been like, sorry, just no.
Oh God.
Well,
is there a what?
You're further down the alphabet, so that's good.
Yeah, we're gonna work our way all the way to Z today in the stream.
Is there a smarter way to like traverse all the depths at once that I don't have to like keep doing this in weird sequential order?
That I don't know.
Oh Jesus.
Oh no, we're on libgl.
At least this one I'm pretty sure is just going to be libgl. Hey, look at that. And, yay! Did a thing.
Okay,
look at that.
It's doing the stuff. That's good.
Oh, ooh, this is going to take a while.
Well, so this is where some of the settings in that blend file, it's the 510 it's breaking up a giant image into chunks to render. You can also set the resolution as well, so we can mess with that, and that's something we can tweak that stuff in Python too if we want to.
Well, this is containers, right? The whole point of this is that we can break this up and spin up, 10 containers, 50 containers, whatever, each one, rendering a set
and the
of
idea. So I kind of was trying to dig into like what this would look like if you were trying to create an OpenShift based Blender render farm, and generally, I think to me that's where
it would look like lots of Python and some serverless thrown in for good measure.
Well, so I mean, it would be this. But what you're doing is you're taking a blend file, you're gonna look at it, see what the resolution that you're wanting out is, and then you're gonna send jobs like this job with a render region, like essentially the 512, or 510 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Each of those tiles could be sent to a pod to render, and then you suck them all back in and stitch them together, and you get your frame. And so the idea would be,
and so
you're distributing that out, and theoretically the time to render would go down because, in this case we're CPU bound, and you would be distributing that load across multiple things.
Right, and so from what you described, you would have a Python program that you would run as a job by itself, which would, or potentially a serverless application, which would process the blend file, and then it would need API access, like via a service account in OpenShift, to create more OpenShift jobs. And basically, it would create a bunch of jobs to create all the parts and put them in some persistent storage somewhere. And then you would need a final job once all those jobs are completed that would stitch all the parts together.
Right, and theoretically, so like what I was kind of trying to investigate was, it would be interesting to use something like WebRTC to be able to do like almost direct peer-to-peer types of streaming to like, here's your blend file, kick me back the image that you render,
Ta-da!
and have it flowing in.
We did a thing.
Look at that.
Cool. All right, now let's run on OpenShift. So first thing I need to do is we're going to rebuild the image using our cool dependencies, which is going to take forever. No, it won't take forever.
Yeah, see, I had every intention
actually.
of doing image, like creating an image for you to do this. And unfortunately, I live out in the boonies, and so my upload speed, the larger the files, the longer it takes, and I really didn't have time to upload.
It's cool.
But I will try to work on some fun stuff with now that I've kind of started to wrap my head around OpenShift and being able to build images and things. So I'm gonna try to.
Is that your coffee, Derek?
More prolific on that.
What's up?
Is that your coffee beeping?
No, that's not me. There's no beeping from my end.
Luke, is there beeping on your end?
I think it's on yours, Eric. I'm not hearing it.
It's coming through the microphone, so somebody's putting beeping on the line.
I'll mute and see if it's.
Luke's end. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine. I don't hear beeping. Oh, now I do. I know what it is too. My kids have a stopwatch that they play with up here, and it beeps. What time is it? Yep, right around now. And I can never, like, I'm always in a meeting or something when it beeps, and I'm like, oh, it drives me nuts.
Oh, that's funny.
This is like it wasn't meant to be their playroom, but
hide the stopwatch. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I have this makeshift green screen. I just put it up on important meetings where I need to look.
Oh yeah, Blender, so important.
OpenShift TV. I mean, this is like. I mean, I've already exhausted 15 minutes of my 15 minutes of fame now. So.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not your first time on OpenShift TV, is it?
Yeah, I did. I haven't been on the game.
Okay. Yet. We'll need to get you on the games show.
So actually, that's one of the things that I wouldn't mind trying to figure out at some point. Not necessarily today, but is with this version of Blender, it has these new geometry nodes, and so one of the things for the game development on OpenShift that you guys are doing, I have the rocket ship, and I still owe you guys a sprite sheet for that of the rocket, flying in different angles so that you can do the animation a little bit cooler. And so with geometry nodes, what I want to try to do is have the one ship and then use geometry nodes to actually reposition it on a plane. And because this is something for me, like for our summit demos, a lot of times we have a 2D artist that, I think if you go back 2 years, he did a sprite sheet for me of a walking sequence. And it looked real janky because, it's 2D and stuff. But with Blender, the idea would be you create your 3D figure, and then you do the animation, and then you just reposition the camera, and then be able to do that for a 2D game. You position orthographic camera, and then render the different positions using this version of Blender. You can do geometry nodes, and then it should render relatively fast.
Cool. So what I just proved right here is one of the things that OpenShift does for security purposes is randomize the UID of the user that the containers run as. And so I picked a random number, and I was still able to run Blender. I should probably run it to completion just to see if it'll actually be able to write to temp. I can prove that myself in a different way. Touch temp Blender testy. Cool. All right, so I'm allowed to do that. So this will work. So let me log into Quay really quick because I'm probably not logged in, or my login has expired. Quay.io, copy password. Oh God, too many things in front of it. Podman login quiet.io. Username is my username. Password is this password. Oh, it doesn't paste the password, so we were safe anyway. Oh, I doubt this is going to work. That's what I thought. Too many windows. So let's go to Quay.
Oh, you have to create your.
Yeah, I don't have a repo for that yet. Let's see. Create repository. I should put this in game dev, but this is fine for now. What are you called? Blender Remote UBI 8. Blender Remote UBI 8. Public. Empty repo. Repo already exists. That's lovely. Oh, well, let me do this. Settings. How do I make you public? Make public. Okay. Let's try this again. I guess the first time it created it, but it was like half created.
Oh.
570 megs. Ugh.
Wow.
Might take a minute.
So 140 of that is
Blender.
is Blender, or like 150 probably.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe it's more. That's the compressed size. That's probably more.
Let's while we're watching paint dry, let me go over here and see if there's actually already a Blender container.
Oh no,
image.
it's 200 is Blender. So 200 of that is Blender.
Is there already? Thanks, internet.
Yeah. Usually, if you throw 3D in there, that'll filter it down. But even then, I think
we'll do this. We'll search Quay for Blender. See if anybody's put one here. Oh, our PSAP guys apparently have already done this.
Way ahead.
Crowd render. Maybe I need to tag. Go ahead.
So this is what we had. Roddy and I were talking about this yesterday. That's for an older version of Blender. So
yeah, 2.8.
And so the 2.9 series, apparently they haven't updated crowd render, or the plugin at least has not been updated. So crowd render is a plugin, and it would be doing a similar thing.
Interesting. It's unfortunate it doesn't list. Actually, I think they have a GitHub repo. They do. Bummer, but they don't have the.
Oh, it's not public.
Well, it's not here. So let's do. Was it Blender crowd, whatever? Yeah.
Well, and Alpine actually has a headless build of Blender for it already as a package, which is interesting. Blender-Headless. It's maintained by a Mark Rydisel. I'm probably saying his name terribly.
Rydisel? Like with an S and a K?
No Ks.
Because that sounds like a Red Hat person.
I don't think it's a Red Hat person. It's definitely a Linux person. Let's see.
Kubernetes Blender render. Setting up a Blendering node using Docker.
And I think that's when we looked at yesterday
Raspberry
too.
Pi cluster, Blender Azure batch, setting up a render farm, Terraform render Kubernetes. All right, let's ask the Google. Sometimes Google's better at tech. Docker Blender render cluster. But that doesn't sound like Kubernetes. Using Docker and Kubernetes. Docker Kubernetes Blender. Huh. Why?
Yeah, this is one we were looking at yesterday.
Oh, did it work?
So if you go to the second part of it, so the first part of this is setting up Blender or setting up a Docker image that uses.
So it just gets it
GPU.
working. Oh, via GPU. Got it.
The second part will actually, I think it sets up the actual containers.
Okay, they're still just running it in a container. I don't see Kubernetes with this.
Yeah.
It's just container. Bummer. Tease. Where are we at here? 162. Gosh. Really? I'm gonna do a thing. Okay.
Wait,
Can you like?
it's a. To be perfectly honest, what does it say? I don't know what I'm doing.
Awesome.
There we go. I need to put that in more blogs. To be perfectly
honest, I don't know what I'm doing.
What I'm doing.
How to script a digital clock. Old school handwritten code, hard coded values.
So I don't know. So here's the way this would play out is what we want to do the same thing we just did, but then add. I mean, I think essentially what we can do is we can add a Python script in there, and the Python script could be referenced from a config map, I guess. Would that work?
Yeah, or secret. There's any
Okay.
There's a number of ways to inject files into a running container.
Okay, so I mean, because then what we would do is we would take, essentially we would want the command line flag that we had, we would add one to it to point to, and let's see.
To point to a Python script?
It's like -p and then point to a Python script. And that will
Python.
In what you're doing,
Does not say.
Do dash
Command line arguments for a full list of arguments.
Yeah, that's the one. Go down. There's like Python options section.
P is playback window Python. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Oh wait, what? Maybe I'm not looking.
Run Blender with an interactive console. Run the given expression as a Python script. Run the given Python script text block. Run the given Python script file.
It's capital P, not lowercase. Yeah.
Do you have a Python script to run?
Yeah. So I can give you some commands to put in.
All right, we can do that. Let's see.
And that so the big thing was, right, what we saw was that it's rendering a giant image. You may want to do something that doesn't do the giant, like let's say you just want a thumbnail. Mm-hmm. So you could theoretically, if you think about the workflows that people might want to do is, hey, I have a blend file, I have a cool thing, render me out 4 different formats of it.
Render me.
Render.
Sorry, it's a Mad Max reference for anybody who's seen them. New file, render py.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've written any Python. Do I need like Python, get started. Look at that. Thanks, VS Code.
Here to go.
Create a new file with a Python extension. I just did that.
So what you're going to do is you're going to do import BPY, which is the Blender
BPY?
Python. Yeah. So what this is doing is it's executing the Python within the Blender context. So part of what's bundled with Blender is its own version of Python. And so they have this BPY that is their.
Is that in lib? Oh, 292 Python. Look at that. Bin.
And do lib, because I think
lib. All the things.
And I don't know where it is under there.
Lib things. So do I have to execute Python 3.7m?
No. So that's like that's why the benefit of the CLI is.
Because Blender loads the Python file with its own Python.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Okay, cool. All right, so import BPY.
And then if we wanted to just change the resolution.
Sure. Let's just change the resolution.
I feel like that's probably a safe thing to do. You're going to do.
Safe.
Well, I say that because I don't know. I don't really know if it'll work or not.
Because we don't know what we're doing.
What we'll do though is, because it's going to be in the interactive thing, we want it to quit after it does its thing.
Okay.
Right. So at the end, like this would be the last line. You want bpy dot ops dot wm.
Wait, did you say ops as in options?
No, sorry, ops dot wm dot quit underscore blender.
That's it?
And I think and two parens. Sorry, it's a function.
Yeah.
A method. I always use those wrong.
Unable to import BPY. Well,
And it won't.
No, that's cool.
It's not a global thing.
Yeah. Thanks, VS Code. You're not smart enough.
To go. And then the other thing you can do in this is, the nice thing is, you can actually reduce some of the command line flags that you're putting in, because you can actually set if you wanted to use environment variables, there's all these things where we can.
So the frame to render and the blend file and the other stuff could be in here also.
All that stuff could be in there. Well, and the blend file won't be, because essentially you're saying run Blender on this blend file and execute this Python script on that blend file. But things like the rendering itself, the path, those can all be stored in secrets or config map types of environment variable, and Python will be able to get to those so that you wouldn't need them, right? Like the idea would be that way you set up the config of the pod or whatever that's running it, and then it will just run the right way.
So how would we change the resolution?
So in this case, the resolution will be, and I just got to get this right, because if it's run outside of, we'll see if this works. So there's two contexts, and I'm a little shady on these because I haven't done the Python stuff a ton.
Oh, you're shady, all right, Luke.
I am. Okay, so to set the resolution that it's going to export, you do bpy.context.scene.render.resolution_x would be the X resolution, and then Y is the same thing with Y. And then if you want to add the file path in there, I don't know if you want to do that too.
No, we can leave that on the.
Okay.
I just want to test this, basically, is what I want to do.
Okay, so in that case, the other thing we need to add is the actual render.
The render command, you mean?
Yeah, because essentially the render, it will.
The Python script tells it don't do anything that's not in the Python. And right now, the Python is just saying set some things and then quit.
And then quit. So it's not going to help.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even, theoretically, it wouldn't even save those. So you're getting nothing out of this. Let me just here real quickly figure out.
It's like bpy.ops.render.render or something.
Yes, it's render.render. So it's same. So it's bpy context scene render.render parens.
Yeah.
And so that says, given everything else I've got set, render. And so that in Blender there are two. There's render, which does the single frame, and then there's render animation, I think, which is, and maybe that's not even right, but render.render I think should be the right one.
I mean, I know the ops call for it, which is bpy.ops.render.render.
Yeah, and maybe that might be.
Find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
You need to set the active scene.
All right. So I got the script. Well, do we need anything else here?
We're questioning whether it will be bpy.ops, and that may actually be. Let me see.
All right. Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to run it while you guys are trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah, there is .render, isn't there on there?
Blender -B.
So
temp Blender OpenShift visuals -P temp.
And then you
Blender render.
We'll see if this. I would assume this is going to work because it will default to the first.
It's an assumption. -O temp Blender whatever.
And the output, yeah, because we didn't set the output. Yeah, you'll need that one.
It's doing something.
So it's rendering.
It didn't explode.
Whether it'll run the actual Python.
Well, it must have, because now it's only doing 130 tiles instead of 500.
Yeah. So it must have. Great.
Yay, we did a thing.
Celebration.
Yeah.
All right, so now we want to get interesting here. So we're gonna rebuild this container file. So we want a volume at, let's go opt Blender data Python. So we're going to put the Python script in a specific place.
Right.
Opt Blender data brain Blender. So that's going to be the blend file. Then we want another volume that's, oh, I can do this as an array. I think.
I'm glad you know that.
Well, VS Code told me.
Oh, okay.
It says you can.
Good job. Oh, okay. Dot. Yeah.
Create a mount point. Oh, do they have to be in? Well, we'll find out if it works or not. And then we'll have opt Blender data output. So we'll have 3 volumes. And the reason for that is that then we're going to specify the command, and we're going to have a very specific syntax. Blender. You know what? Let's just do this for giggles, just to see what happens. So I'm going to build this again. Okay, so now if I run it, it should just give me the help output of Blender.
Oh, right.
That's actually okay that we did that, because that just indicates that it's probably not in the right path.
We didn't update, right? Like you didn't put it into the path environment variable, right?
I did not.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's, if you, like it on Linux, if you install it, you get Blender in the path. If not, you just have to do it manually.
Oh, I didn't actually rebuild the image. So we'll see what happens. All right, so Blender's there. So the command should be, oh, okay, yeah, opt Blender -H. I have to rebuild the image to make that happen. And then I need to run it and we get the help.
Oh,
okay,
right.
cool. So now what we want is,
And the Python script.
Yeah, well, so I want to make folders that match the things that we expect here for giggles, and then move things around. And so I'll move the Python script into Python. I'll move the Blender into Blend, and then we can delete that. And then we have our output. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run Blender -B with Blender output blend file.blend. And
Well, it's a
then-
blend, right? Not output. Opt blender blend
Oh,
slash
good
blend
point.
file.
Good point. Good point.
Blend, 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 blend. It's a meaningless word now.
I see you like
Pair
blends with
programming
your
for
blend.
the win. And then let's see. So what did we do in here? Looking up the syntax that we used previously.
And then dash.
So then we want
and you can put the flags
dash
wherever.
P,
It doesn't necessarily matter.
opt blender python script.py. And then we want dash O temp, nope, opt blender output image PNG. And then for the sake of simplicity, we'll force dash F1.
Yeah, and it should all be blender underscore data before you build this.
Oh,
It
son
shouldn't
of
just
a
be
biscuit.
opt slash blender. Like, I haven't had my coffee, so come on.
And there's probably a way to make this multi-line on.
No, it's okay. You're doing good. You're doing good here.
You just put the slashes at the back.
All right, so I have to rename these now. So this needs to be script, and this needs to be blend file. Okay, so now if I run this, hopefully it should just do it.
Right.
Or explode horribly. Cannot read, no such file. Opt blender data blend file dot blend. Okay, so this is where we do one of these, and then we do, oh, because I didn't mount them.
Oh,
That's good. Yay, success. Okay.
Yeah.
So we want.
This was intentional.
Yeah, totally. So we want to mount pwd slash blend to opt blender data blend. And then we want dash v pwd slash python into opt blender data python z, and then we want pwd output to opt blender data output z. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm a magician.
Cloud computing, as they say.
I'm a cloud
Great,
computing.
thanks, chat.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I'm a cloud computing? Okay.
I am a cloud computing.
So now we can try and OpenShift the shiz out of this. So if we go to, I do have a cluster. I have logged in. So let's go to.
This is the cooking show, right?
Sort of. I mean, I didn't have to install. I didn't have to install OpenShift, but yes, this is
Yeah.
kind of cooking show-ish. So skip the tour. We're gonna make a new project. Let's create a project. Blender. And so the first thing we're gonna do is we need a I guess we can do this as a config. No, I need a volume. Volume snapshots, PVC. Okay, I want a PVC to actually store my stuff. We will call it Blender output. Single user, yes, 1 GB should be enough. File system is fine. Okay, cool. So now we can actually attach this to a thing. Next, we want a config map. We'll create a config map. Oh, really? Can I not? All right, let me do this as a secret instead. That'll be better.
Secrets always make more
Create-
sense to me. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. So
Oh, man.
Do we want to go down the rabbit hole?
No.
No, not really.
Not today. Not today. Okay, so this is going to be Blender data. So the first key is going to be the script. And so then we'll put the file in as not presentations, Blender, oh gosh, Blender remote, the Python script. Then we're going to add another key value, and the key is going to be the blend file. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and then this. Oh, bummer. Okay, well, so part of it is
what's the 4
file
megs?
limit. Yeah. So let's go back to config map. I can do this with an OC command.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you can. The majority of that file size is really the image, like that, the hat rack.
This is going to be exciting.
This whole thing is exciting. We're just here for
OC
excitement,
create
really.
config map, Blender data from file equals key1, from file equals blend equals, right? Yes.
I mean, we can go into the nuances, chat. We're happy to nuance away.
Rendering per angle? God, I don't even, that sounds awful, whatever it is. All right, let's just see if this works at all. Because we are uploading 4 megs into a config map. Entity too large. So this is a potential problem.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming that there's going to be large assets. So we have a couple of options here. We can go brute force and just pull the raw blend file from the Git repo as a URL param, and then do some really hacky, nasty stuff where like we fetch it. I don't actually know how to directly add a file into a persistent volume claim. So like there's a file storage now somewhere like that lives in the cloud, but I don't actually know how to put anything into it. You know, ideally in like a real company, if we were a real company, the blend file would probably go in like an object store or something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Is there a way to separate?
Yeah, I mean, really, do you have any image editing software?
I do. I have lots of imaging editing.
So
imaging.
Go in.
Words.
Open up the. Oh, you can't do it because I embedded it. Shoot.
Right.
Hold on.
You're gonna have to make. You're gonna have to make me some new stuff.
Why don't I do this?
Or we need a simpler, smaller. Yeah,
Well,
Tony, that flawless demo was purely by accident. I cannot take any credit for the fact that this actually worked so far. We did spend the first like 10 minutes completely effing it up, but you know.
Well, okay, so instead load the spaceship blend file.
Spaceship.
I think that one will be.
Well, I've lost your repo. Oh, it's in the chat here. Nope.
Oh, except did I use?
Kemi Quasi. Oh yeah, OpenShift Blender. No, that's you.
Yeah.
So. Which one?
Spaceship.
Spaceships.
Spaceship.
All right.
Lego movie.
So let's go see
I think
blend.
No, although it may look really funky because I think that one's using an HDRI too.
Oh gosh, come on, dude, you're killing me here.
Well, here maybe what I can do is just
blend file.blend.
Oh yeah, it is. Okay.
15 megs. Wrong direction, sir.
Hold on. All right.
Can we just like render a sphere or something? Like,
here, okay.
I mean, you can do that with Python.
Oh, yeah.
Is that 15?
Worst case scenario, we just add it to the script and ignore the blend file.
Yeah, that's true.
So we would just have an empty blend file?
So
you don't even need a blend file. Just need the Python
Don't put a
script.
file in.
But if you -b, you need a file.
No, I'm saying we don't. We don't -p. We just -p, which that sounds weird to say.
Will it not? Would that work?
Pretty sure.
Well, let's try it. We'll try it locally first.
That sounds great to me.
Okay, so give me the code or paste me some code to draw a circle or a sphere or something.
Let me grab it. Yeah, because Derek had shared. Let's see. Where's that? Yeah, here we go. Here's a link to it. This is a Python script to just render
a cube.
a cube. Oh, except, well, yes, what do they do? Yeah, they just run Blender -B -P Python script, and then the
I don't
frame.
see why this renders a cube.
It's because, so it's the default, like it's like a new file in Blender, comes with the cube and the camera already.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, default cube is like in Blender circles, like that's everyone loves.
Oh, but
the
it
default
needs
cube.
input, which is annoying.
Oh, I mean, you could.
I could change that. Yeah.
You can.
Just copy the part without
yeah.
any. Yeah, ignore all the top stuff. Ignore like 90% of that. I mean, you can keep all of that. You only need like, the bottom portions here. Like I would just copy like from where it says, that stuff. And you don't even need cycles renderer, just output resolution's fine, like all that stuff is fine.
Well, we need to.
You can just delete those lines. Like,
are those optional arguments?
honestly, I think you don't. Reading through this, you don't need any of this junk.
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
Why are they even using camera object? I don't even know if you need that. Like you could probably just run the Python script as it is, and it would probably work without copying any of the stuff that Luke sent you.
Oh, so just go back to the original one
I think
and just run this
without a file, and it'll just render a cube.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing, right? Like they're setting up a lot of other stuff, but
yeah,
theoretically the default, like just give me something with nothing in it, is actually something with something in it.
So we want Blender -P Blender data Python script. We want -O Blender data output image PNG -F1 needs B.
Oh, you still do B, yeah. But I don't think you need a file still, because I think that
render settings object has no attribute render, unable to open a display.
Render settings, okay.
I think we need to feed it in.
Oh, you have to. Oh, here. You have to have. You have to pick the engine, because if it's defaulting, let me go back.
I need a -F. You mean?
No, you have to pick the renderer.
Here, I've got the. Here you go. It's BP. Well, here I'll just put it in there. bpy.context.scene.renderEngine equals cycles.
Got it.
They're doing it kind of through a.
Maybe we'll see.
What's it rendering? That's the question.
we're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm excited.
Cannot save. Permission denied. Oh, that's my fault.
But it did output something. That's fine.
Yeah, it tried to do it.
Yeah, because it doesn't have a file name.
No, it's actually not that. It here, I'll show you.
Well, I was curious because it's outputting image with a. Yeah, it makes sense because we're doing it because.
So we don't have that folder doesn't have group write permission, and we are root group but not root user, and so I just need to chmod 775 blend chmod 75 output chmod 75 Python. Now I can run this again, and then I can run this again.
Blend file? We don't need no stinking blend file.
Yeah, well, I mean, we will eventually. And lo and behold, there is an image, and lo and behold, it is
Is
a
it
cube.
the default cube? Nice. Okay.
Hey, we did it.
We did it. All right.
That's what success feels like right here.
Yeah. Ladies and
Cube.
gentlemen. All right. So let's try and, oh, we don't need a blend file now. So we can skip that. That folder will be empty. We do need the Python script though. So let's do this. So from file, we want script equals Python, was it script.py? Script.py. All right, so now if we go back to OpenShift and we look at the config maps, we have a config. Oh, I was in the wrong project.
Well, now. Chat says wow, which, I read that and I can't think of it as anything other than the Owen Wilson. Wow. That's what I'm imagining chat doing right now.
All right, Blender data. We have a script which has this thing. All right, so this is where it becomes awful because now I have to figure out how to write a Kubernetes job to consume the config map, the image, and everything in the right place. Oh, and it's probably going to explode because there's no, there isn't a blend file.blend. Is there a way to have an empty blend file?
Well, I mean, you could, let me just open a blend file and see what it looks like.
Make me something pretty, Luke. Come on, something small and pretty.
All right.
A little more than a cube.
Okay,
Share your screen and show us what you're doing.
Oh, okay. All right. Share screen. I'm disabled. I can't share my screen.
Hang on. Yeah, sorry.
Well, you need the -b, but I don't know if you need the blend file.
Yeah, I don't think
No, but I'm saying I can.
Oh, you have your image, your container's already there. Is that what you're saying?
Hang on a second.
I'm pretty sure you can just delete op blender data blend file.blend. Like you need the -b, but you can delete the .blend file.
Right,
part.
but anyway, never mind. Yes, I
don't
can.
have to-
That's right.
you don't
But
have
then
to upload
eventually,
the
when
image
we
again.
want to do it, like when we want to use it the real way, we would need that.
And that's where this is where the Python script would be really. The Python script can be the source of record though, because we could load the blend file in through the Python script.
Yeah, that's I think
so you
most
don't,
of the
like,
other.
This would work. This will work even when we have a blend file to use because we can.
Oh,
adjust the
I see
Python
what you.
script.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And since it's a config map value, we
So
can
then
do
let's
that
just
on the
assume
fly.
there's not going to be. No, we'll leave that as a volume. Why the hell not? Okay, so that's pushed. We don't need that. Okay, we do need the script. All right, so now we need Kubernetes job. Jobs, Kubernetes. No, I'm not looking for a job. I need to create a job.
We're building jobs here.
Containers, image, restart policy. All right, so we're gonna do this, and it's not gonna actually work, but that's okay. So let's go back here. We'll go to topology. I'm gonna add from YAML. So we're gonna make a job. We're gonna call it blend1. We're gonna call the container blender. The image is Quay.io thorax. What did I call this stupid thing? Blender remote UBI8 latest. There is no command, which is probably going to fail, but we'll see what happens. Ah, it's doing a thing. Events. Generated from job controller. Pods. Here's a pod. Container creating. Well, it's downloading 500 megs.
And then theoretically, Eric, we could just have, like, you could have a different pod that hosts a server that presents to the web the image, right?
It worked. I mean, it failed, but that's okay. We knew that was going to happen. Okay, so the next step is to actually, oh, just poop. Where's my jobs?
So
Project, jobs. Really? I'm gonna have to file a bug. Workloads, jobs. We can delete you. Delete job. That's fine.
The question from chat was, what is Blender considered? Blender is just a software application. The BPY, it would be the API into the software application.
Well, so I mean, more generically, right? Like Blender is a 3D rendering application. It has a headless mode that can consume Python files, and so in this case, we are taking advantage of that headless mode, and we're still using the 3D application for rendering. We're just doing it in a I lost my train of thought.
API, something API. It's cool.
Yeah. Things and stuff.
We're doing programmatically instead of in the application itself.
Yeah.
Using generate name with jobs. Oh, please tell me you're fixed, because that would be awful. I've already forgotten. Let me look at the jobs again, because I know it's going to fail, but I don't want it to keep trying. Writing a job spec, pod template, pod selector, parallel execution, controlling parallelism, handling pod failures. Okay. If you do specify back office, failed job after some amount of retries. Okay, I want restart policy. Oh, I don't want to restart. Restart policy equals never. All right, where is restart policy?
Oh, perfect. You already have
It's
it.
right there. Yeah, but I don't understand why it like kept trying.
What's the back off limit then?
Oh, that's
no,
the number
you're
of
using
retries
never,
before
though.
it's failed. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
changed that to 1. That's fine. So we're good here. All right, so that was cool. So now we have to figure out how to do the config map, because we need the script in there. Clean up finished jobs, TTL, job patterns, template, advanced usage, pod selector, alternatives, application controller, single job starts controller pod. I just want a pod then. Workload resource pod. Here we go. What is the pod using pod? I want config map. How do I attach config map?
Yeah. There's actually there's a question from chat about setting up animations, or a comment, I guess. But yeah, there's a GitHub repo that actually has a ton of example Python scripts that look neat, I guess.
Okay, well, maybe we'll try one in a moment. All right, volumes we set. Okay, here's the volume. So we're gonna need, does Kubernetes support? Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Can we do a volume on a job? Well, we're gonna find out the hard way. Blender data, arrays from keys. Let's see, describe, config map, Blender data. We have a key called script. And we want to put that, oh, there is no path. I guess that's also script. Okay, and then we want to attach that into the container as a volume mount. So that's going to go in line with the container name. Oh, this is the template for the pod. Hang on a second. Spec containers. Okay, so this has to actually go here and needs to be indented to the level of the containers. There we go. All right, let's just try this for now and see if it works or explodes. So what I'm doing is things, let's see, Blender, create job. We are going to create a job. So I want to have the job that runs the Blender, but I want the config map to actually exist as a volume. We're not mounting it anywhere, which is fine. I just want to see if it doesn't blow up. And sure enough, it didn't blow up. We got a generated name, which is cool. We got a generated name for the job, which is cool. One error is expected. If we look at this, the log's probably going to be the same, which is unable to open display because it's not working right, which is cool. I can't get a terminal because that pod is gone. I thought there was a way to launch a debug pod at one point in time, but that's okay. That's okay. We're good. So we'll delete you. All right, so we want to mount that config map into, which has the script, into opt Blender data somewhere. Container file, Python. Okay, volume mounts is at the same level as containers. No, it's at the same level as name. Volumes is at the level of containers. So job.yaml, volumes is at the level of containers, but volume mounts is here. Oh, wow. Autocomplete for Kubernetes YAML is pretty rad. Name, Blender script. No, yes, sure, fine. Mount path, opt Blender data, Python. Ooh, that's not what I want. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, but we have a specific file that we want from the config map. We don't want to mount the whole config map. Using config maps as files, mounting config maps on. It's funny, like I've looked this specific thing that I'm trying to do up like 52 bajillion times and I never remember how to do it. Creates two files. I don't want two files. It's because this is array and the items. Oh, this might work. Yeah, okay, never mind. This might work. No, it's not going to work. I lied. I need to change the config map. Let's see, delete config map Blender data. I want to call the key script.py, which probably won't work, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, that did work. So the key is the file name. So if I end up doing script.py, what I will get is script.py in that Python folder. Fingers crossed. Read only true. All right, let's try to create this job and we'll see what happens. OpenShift, create job. Okay, so in theory, this should mount into opt Blender data Python, script.py from the Blender data config map, which has our little square render doodad. Not found, Blender script for field. Oh, this is the name of the volume mount, which has to refer to the config map, which is config. Hey, look at that. did a thing. Container creating logs. Ah! Ah!
Look at that.
Oh! Wow!
Beautiful.
Look at that. Okay, so does anybody know ahead of time what's going to go wrong here, or what the problem is? It's a very simple
Well,
problem. but-
class.
yeah. No, none of you. Okay, so we're doing the thing, and we're writing output into an ephemeral container. So I actually have to now find the volume that we created to store the data, and then put the data in there. Although I just realized that there's actually another problem here, which is going to be really funny, but we can probably fix that with a really, really horrifically ugly hack. So let's go back to, yeah, so it did its thing and then it finished. Oh, Blender quit, output. Attribute render seating. Oh, that's not good. I'm not sure that that's a problem.
Since object has no attribute render. Oh,
So here's our script.
it's probably because it doesn't have a blend file. That's why.
So
we
we can
like
just
set the scene or
okay.
something like that.
It's essentially because you load a blend file in, it comes built in with all the settings for rendering.
Yeah, got it.
So you have to, we would have to manually tell it a few things, I guess.
Okay, but it looks like it created the image anyway.
It did. It worked, right? Like,
right.
It's just, I think, when it's running the script, it's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool.
I'll do
why
what
is
you
this
said,
still
but I don't-
pending? Oh shit.
It's probably because it exited.
No, this is something different.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say if it exits with an error, that may.
We may be done for today. So I've made a claim for storage, but it's still in pending status.
Oh, right.
It's not being filled. So there's no GP. Like, this is a problem with the underlying OpenShift environment. Let me look here.
Because someone has to go in and approve it or something.
No, it shouldn't need to be approved. It should just work. The question is why it's not just working. Oh, it's pending because it hasn't been tried to be used yet, I bet is what it is. I created a claim, but I didn't try and use it anywhere. So maybe that's the problem, but we'll see. All right, so how do I attach persistent volumes into persistent volumes? That's what I want. Binding, user creates, has already created a claim, control loop, binds them. Yeah, hopefully it'll work. Delete, recycle. All right, volume mounts, volumes. Oh, that's a recycler. Reserving a persistent volume. I did that. Expanding claims, volume expansion. I want to use the stupid thing. GPV, capacity. Oh my gosh. Why is documentation universally so bad? Just like, I want to use claims as volumes. Okay, there we go. Job.yaml. Okay, so what we want is in the volumes, we need to specify a volume. So this is going to be name output. And we want persistent volume claim name. What is my claim name? Blender output. Okay, and then we need to mount it. So in the volume mounts, now we have name, Blender output. And then mount path, volume mounts, mount path, name, opt, Blender, data, output. Okay. Go back to our job. We will delete this job because we don't care, but it did work.
Yeah.
Create a new job and we'll go here.
Now, what we may find is that if it does the same thing again, so it may be generating the image but not storing it, and that may be the problem. But that's something I'll try to get the Python ready for you.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to time here, so.
Yeah, and I may have to
Blender output
go do
found.
dad duty soon here too. So.
Oh, it's just called output. That's annoying. So let's see. All right, it worked. Yeah, okay. I think it's not going to work. Oh, it's creating. That's good. This is going to hopefully start doing its thing in a moment. All right, so that's working. If we look at persistent volume claims, we see that it's bound to an actual persistent volume. So the trouble here is that I have no way to get the data out of that volume.
Oh, right.
Like we need something to provide access to it.
You would need something to serve.
Yep.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is cool though. For me, this is a start because what I want to try to work on, and maybe we can talk about this later, but is trying to figure out how to do a render farm, in some relatively efficient way.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to like throw a Blender Foundation, render farm operator or something in the Red Hat container catalog, right?
Yeah.
If you're like a Red Hat subscriber, just go grab that and toss it up there, right, on your AWS or Azure or whatever public cloud you're using. Throw it on OpenShift and it'll just you can throw files at it. So
we still got the error, but it claims that it saved the thing. So what can we do that's a poopy? Go ahead.
In OC, can you go like SSH into the pod?
No, I would need a pod that has that volume attached to it.
Okay.
Which I can do, but the other challenge here is that these are read write once volumes, and so but I can create it like an Apache serving pod, right? The question is how. Let's do.
Well, maybe Eric, if maybe we could do another one where we do
another stream
a little deeper. Yeah, and I'll try.
And so
work
probably.
And things.
Yeah, and so probably what we would want to do is just shove the output into S3, which would be easy. So somebody said SFTP, and that would work if I had some place to SFTP into. So right now there's an Amazon EBS volume. If I had access to the Amazon console, I could, probably dig into that volume or whatever. But the easier thing for us to do would probably be to I don't know if the Python that Blender embeds has S3 support, but we'd have to figure out how to get S3 into the Python script and then basically write the file somewhere and then shove that into the S3 using the provided credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I'd love to do another round of this. If nothing.
Yeah, totally. This would be a fun Friday thing.
Yeah. And I just linked in a Python script there that I put together for animation. I don't know if we want to try messing around with it or not.
Yeah, I can run it locally. So.
And then I'm gonna have to go, guys. I gotta go pick kids up from preschool. But
okay, man.
Thank
Well,
you.
we're gonna fire this off. Thanks, Luke, so
All
much
right.
for your time today, and we'll
Yeah.
do this for giggles and see what happens.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man. All right, so here's
Yeah, full disclaimer, I have not run this locally yet, so I'm curious.
okay. Let's see. Oh, it needs the -- render anim though. Well, we'll see what happens if I don't put that. You know what? I can just change this. Oh, I can override the command. Never mind. So let's do this. So we're gonna run this, and then we're gonna run opt blender. Gosh,
I don't even know if that argument's supported anymore.
what render anim?
The render anim, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll
Opt
find
blender. -b -p opt blender data Python script py render anim. Oh, is it piping it into ffmpeg or something?
No, that's the second command you need to run to assemble the animation once you have all the frames together.
Got it. Line 75 X.
Oh, look at that.
Now that's copy. So for some annoying reason, when you copy all with Chrome, like I get cruft. Only in GitHub Raw. It's really weird. I don't understand why it does that. All right, name utils is not defined. Unable to open a display.
Oh, where the heck did I leave utils in there?
It's right
Oh,
here.
right at the top. That's an easy replace.
So what do we need to fix?
1 second. I
Sure.
will
Oh, you're
update
fixing
the
it?
file. Yeah.
Got it. Eventual consistency.
Yeah.
Post it to an available entry point when created. I'm not sure what Perkinja means about posting it to an available entry point. Although if we had an app where we could like post the output to, that would also work. Just like a simple
Yeah.
HTML receiver kind of thing. But since we're already like barfing out the file, we might as well just put it into. Well, it would be cool. You can't do it with Amazon because it's block storage. It would be cool if we could just have an Apache container where it just dumped the output in the volume into the Apache container, and then you could just like pull it down immediately. But that would require some
Right.
more ingenuity. Did you fix it yet?
1 second. Let's see. All right. Updated.
So we've updated the script. Utils is still there.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, I might have to.
I updated on Gist. Yeah, it like reversions it.
Yeah, that's probably why. Utils is still here. Current object utils create plain.
And it's easy to fix as well. All right.
Fixing the things, doing the stuff. Just waiting for your eventual consistency. Come on, baby. Still seeing utils.
Yeah, 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Copying lots of 00.00.00.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, give that a shot.
All right, primitive plane. Let's see what we got here. 0, G, paste, max, remove. Okay. Set smooth shading is not defined.
Let's see. How do we tell Blender to set smooth shading?
Can we just ignore smooth shading?
You can delete that.
So just delete it.
Yes.
And subdivision surface modifier looks like it's going to fail potentially too, but we'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yep, not defined. So let's comment that out for giggles, see if it works. Mesh has no attribute location. Yeah, this is like a bummer. I think we should abandon ship. Unless you're super passionate about making this fancy Python script work.
I mean, we'll probably get it working for next, show or whatever.
Yeah, but you have a container image that you can use.
Absolutely,
it is out there
it's
and it works,
exciting.
and it's based on Rel. Look at that, super cool. All right, well, I guess that's a good stopping point for today. Thank you, Derek, for joining. Point. Yeah, this was super cool. I appreciate everybody's patience and all the viewers online for sticking with us throughout this thing. And we will let you know in the future when we're going to do this again. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend for those who are still watching. And for those who might be watching this later, we hope you enjoyed. Talk to you later. Cheers.
Cheers.